Good morning, everyone, from the top of Coosa. If you're new here, my name's Derek. This is my channel, Dirtbag Adventures. This is part 2 of my Georgia Loop hike. If you're unfamiliar with what the Georgia Loop hike is, the previous 2 or 3 videos before this one, you can go watch those, and I'll explain it in all of those videos multiple times. So go check those videos out. Not real late, but I didn't get a real early start. I was up at about, I woke up at 5, and I told myself I should get up then and start the breakdown procedure, but I ended up getting up to about 7:30, cooked breakfast, got some hot chocolate, broke down camp, and we were walking by 9, so missed a couple hours of daylight, but you know, had I been up here at daylight, I wouldn't have gotten to see this. And I was also wrong. At the end of last night's video, I said that I was about 300 yards from the summit of Coosa from where I camped on the Coosa Backcountry Trail. I was more like 700 or 800 yards. I still had to climb up a little bit more, but it wasn't far at all. It didn't take me not even 5 minutes to get here, so I was close, but I finally summited. Now we're gonna head down to White Oak Stamp for the first stop, and I'm gonna fill up on some water. So this is at White Oak Stamp. I just came down off the Duncan Ridge off of Coosa. That was kind of a pain. A couple boulder gardens, wet leaves. I was wondering if the water was going to be marked. It is marked, and just from what I've known and seen, there is, the Duncan Ridge goes through over there. There's a wash right here. It goes down to water. So we're gonna follow this down and see if we can find the spring. So right up there's the ridge. Just walked all the way down this valley. And according to the YouTube channel Bravestone Hikes and some other trail reports I've read on White Blazing, the spring originates from up under this fallen tree here, and it does. You can see this little creek bed here. There is some water in there. It would take quite a bit of work to dig out enough of those leaves right in there to fill up my beefery, and what I would do is dig out some and then use my mug to kind of use it as a scooper. I don't know that I'm gonna take any time to do that. I do have almost a full liter of water already, so I think I'm just gonna conserve and make my way on up the trail to the next water source. And at the next water source, if it is like this, I'll have to take the time. I hate that I wasted the time to come all the way off the ridge, but that's the kind of things you got to deal with. So just for future reference for anybody wanting to do this, it looks like this spring probably runs all year, like the guy told me yesterday. But just know that it's going to take some work, and you're probably going to either need a pump or some kind of scooper or cup or mug that you can use to then fill up your filter, whether you're using a Sawyer or Be-Free, unless you're using like a Catadin Hyperflow or something, or MSR Hyperflow, or one of the Catadin pumps. That's really the only way you're going to get any water from here. All right, made it back up here to the gap, and I wanted to derobe and take off my big North Face and just rock with the vest. This is a piece of gear that I forgot to tell you guys about yesterday. Usually I wear a hoodie, a North Face hoodie. I've always worn one for years, but I got a gift card from my work and decided to buy the beanie and the North Face vest. So I've got my Columbia Omni Shield base layer and the vest, and they work great together. I can unzip, which I couldn't do with the hoodie, and then I can unzip the Omni Shield and get some air when I start getting warm, and it worked great yesterday. Another thing I want to do was double check my water. Turns out I didn't have as much water as I thought. I emptied my platypus into this to kind of conserve space when I left camp. And I did have half a liter. I drank a little bit, probably gonna drink another drink real quick and then head out. I'm not exactly sure how far the next water source is. I'm thinking it's probably Mulkey Gap. So I'll definitely have to make the detour at Mulkey Gap and do whatever I gotta do to get water once I get there, even if it takes me 30 minutes. It's just something I'll have to do. All right, we're leaving White Oak Stamp, and at the moment it looks like we're going to kind of parallel the road for a bit, maybe a couple little rollers up and down, and then we're gonna climb Buckeye Knob. We'll descend back to the road, parallel it again for a little ways, then we'll climb Buckeye Knob, and then we'll descend way down off of Buckeye to Mulkey Gap. So probably got, I think, 5-6 miles, so shouldn't be a problem on water. Turned into a beautiful morning so far. Sun's out, fog's burned off, making miles. It's warmed up probably 10-15 degrees already since the sun burned the fog off, and I'm just gonna make a day of it. I summited, just now summiting Buckeye Knob, and I'll tell you, Duncan Ridge is built a little bit different. It will go straight up the mountain and no switchbacks. So all those times I've complained on the other trails with switchbacks, now I understand why the switchbacks are there. It does make it easier, even though it's annoying. This is, from what I understand, several of these mountain summits have these big burly trees on them, kind of marks the summit. So that's pretty neat. I think there's several of them through here. So I think I was getting kind of confused. One of these buck knobs, it's obviously not Buckeye, because there's, I mean, other than just looking through the trees, there's not really a view. But so it's got to be Buck Knob. There's supposed to be a really nice view from the top. I'll probably stop and spend a few minutes there, eat, try to build up some calories again, and then carry on. Okay, so I just came up from there, was right over there, dropped down on a little saddle, came up this little knob. Here's another one of these marker trees. This one actually has a better view. I would look around and see if there's a geological marker, but I'm trying to make up some time. So this is actually the summit of Buckeye Knob. I looked at the map, and apparently Buckeye Knob is two little summits. So that summit that I was on the last one, dropped into the saddle and come up to this. This is what is actually labeled on the map as Buckeye Knob. So, and the view from here is pretty great. Again, the camera is not going to do justice for it, but it's worth the climb. Trail closed. Interesting. So I made it to the top of Buck Knob. I was getting a little worried about water. I was trying to think about what I was gonna do, and I crossed the gap right down here. There were some hunters hanging out, and they filled me up with some Dasani water bottles. I just poured the water into my container so I didn't have to carry the trash, and hiked right up to the top. And check out this view. It was most definitely worth stopping for. So I'm gonna spend probably 10-15 minutes, eat a quick snack or lunch, and get a little drink of water, and I'll be on my way. All right, so now we're just still climbing up a little bit of what was left of Buck Knob here, but once I get up over this knob, I'll drop way down the Mulkey Gap. And my original plan, or my plan for the last couple hours, has been to take the side hike at Mulkey Gap to go get water. But since those hunters were super awesome and gave me water, I think I'm going to bypass the side hike and just keep on hiking. I'll have to gain the ridge back out of Mulkey, hiking up to Atkin Mountain, I think it is. Anyways, that'll be a pretty steep climb, and then I think from Mulkey, like another 5 miles, there's another campsite with a water source. So at the moment, I think I'm gonna try to make that campsite. Depending on how the terrain goes and what I'm feeling like, we'll see if we want to go any further than that campsite. If I don't go any further than that campsite, that still sets me up to be on the BMT first thing tomorrow morning. And I'm pretty familiar with the BMT in that area, so I should be able to make miles pretty quickly, and maybe by tomorrow night be somewhere actually around Three Forks, or even up towards Hawk Mountain Shelter on the AT. It's all just going to depend on my energy levels and how much hiking I can get in. So we'll see. We made it to Mulkey Gap, and this was, or is, the next spot that I can get water. But if I was a smart man, I'd go ahead and go fill up. Never claimed to be that smart. Still have a full liter. I think I'm gonna take my chances with going on from here. I think it's another 5 miles to the next water source. Still pretty early in the day, it's 1:30. I know these climbs coming up in front of me are gonna be pretty tough, but I should be able to make 5 miles by dark, so we'll just have to see when we get there. So for anyone who's wondering, water is down this road, right, that I'm looking at with the gate, with the handicap access. Down through there a little ways, there's a creek, some camping. I've got to go straight up that hill over there. That way goes to Blairsville. So that way goes back towards Highway 60. We got to go straight up. Okay, so we've come up the hill a little bit there from Mulkey Gap, but I just wanted to say real quick, I made it a point to record that car right down there. I was getting some pretty weird vibes from it. No one was in the car. It was completely packed full of stuff. I mean, only the driver's seat was open. And I don't know, just one of those weird things. Probably just somebody homeless kind of camping out where they can, but you never know. This is what it's all about. But fuck that mountain back there. That was a hard climb. All right, so this is one of the better views I've had this entire trip. But the climb out of Mackaye Gap up Aiken Mountain, it's the hardest climb I've done this trip so far. It's probably the hardest trip I've done in the last 2 or 3 years, including the Art Lobe last October. It's 2,700 feet, 2,600 feet, give or take, at elevation at Mackaye Gap. Straight up, literally straight up, no switchbacks, to the top of Aiken Mountain at 3,600 feet, 3,550, 3,600 feet, give or take, according to my Garmin watch. It was a pain in the ass, but I rewarded with this. So how mad can I really be? So for the last hour or so since I came down off Aiken Mountain, I've just been pounding out the miles. I don't even know what mile I'm at this point, but this is Fish Gap. The gentleman that I talked to yesterday around Slaughter Gap said that this is a dead-end road, which it is. Forest Service Road 88, I think he called it. He said there was camping here, which it does look like very nice camping over there. And he said that he's been keeping it clean. It is very clean, so shout out to that gentleman for being a good steward of the land. Looks like an old road up through there, nice camping. And the DRT goes that way, so that's where we're headed. We'll see where we can make it. Next stop will be Sarvis Gap, and there's supposed to be water there, so stay tuned. Okay, so we made Jarvis Gap, but supposedly there's water here at a spring somewhere. Oh, wait, water pointing that way. But I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, it's probably not a smart decision to walk off down there unless you know for sure that you can navigate your way down and back. I just came off of that mountain up there, and yeah, it was not a fun experience. I'll actually tell you guys about it later, but now we're gonna keep on moving. So, two pretty amazing things are happening right now. As you've seen, we are getting a beautiful look at the sunset. I just so happen to summit this pain in the ass mountain, kind of reminiscent of Aiken Mountain. This is Rhodes Mountain, straight up the backside. What a pain in the ass that thing is. But also just down here we are going to be intersecting the BMT or Benton Mackaye. Give me my hiking pole, damn. Anyways, it's just down here at the bottom of the hill, so it looks like I'm gonna make it before nightfall, which was one of my big goals. But as you can see, have the headlamp on. We're gonna hike on into the dark for a little bit. I have a particular place that I want to end today on. Not that I can't camp overnight without water. I have done it before and I will do it again in the future, but I know that it's attainable to make it to this spot. I also know that it's going to be probably pretty well below freezing tonight, and I want a warm meal to help my body as it digests. It'll help keep me warm through the night, and then a warm meal and coffee will for sure help get me going in the morning. So in order to have that, I'm gonna have to push a little into the dark, which is fine. I don't mind doing that. I've done it before. It'll be a little tricky here because the trail's already hard to read, but with my headlamp and with Gaia at my hand, I should be fine. Yes, you have no idea how pumped I am to see this intersection in the natural daylight. This is a huge marker for me today. This is a big win, and I am pumped. Duncan Ridge Trail, Benton Mackaye Trail. BMT is so nicely blazed. Look at the blaze for Duncan Ridge. Man. These are new signs. These signs were not here the last time I came up from Skeena Gap, which is that way. We're headed this way towards Highway 60, but man, it is so nice to be right here at this moment and with a beautiful sunset to top it off. All right, now it is crunch time to make it to my camp spot for tonight. I will get back with you guys when I make it. We're getting there. That's a pretty fresh sun. Another summit in the dark. I don't know. Let me see. No, probably can't see. It's not picking up any of the lights, but oh, there's a little one. The mountains are just absolutely covered with lights from up here. And then that's the moon coming through. About another hour or so, and it'll be right over, keeping me awake like it did last night. Trying to be careful here. Trying to keep y'all out of the light. So that's a wrap on day 2. I finally made it to my camp location. We are at the Toccoa River swinging bridge. That was a rough day. Probably one of my longest ever days. This is mile 24 and a half or 25. Roughly 10,000 feet of elevation gain since I left Coosa this morning. It is absolutely freezing, and I took a hard fall on Walhalla Mountain on the down climb coming down to 60, so that was fun. But I'm gonna get camp set up and try to get warm, get some food. So I'll catch up with you guys in the morning.